was a ship that put to sea, and the name of the ship was privacy. The winds blew hard and fear dipped down below me, crypto boys blow. Soon may the pirate chain come to bring us crypto golden rum. One day when the system is done, we'll take our treasure and go. She not been but 2 years from shore when her value it began to soar. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take those bankers in tow. Soon may the pirate chain come to bring us crypto golden rum. One day when the system is done, we'll take our treasure and go. No chain was cut, no block was freed, and the captain's mind was not on greed, but he belonged to the pirate's creed and took those bankers in tow. Soon may the pirate chain come to bring us crypto golden rum. One day when the system is done, we'll take our treasure and go. For fiat days to be no more, the crypto sank, then rose once more. Coins were lost, yet we do endure, and still that system did go. Soon may the pirate chain come to bring us crypto golden rum. One day when the system is done, we'll take our treasure and go. As far as I've heard, the fight's still on, the chains don't cut, and the block's not gone. We pirates make our regular call, we're with the captain, the crew, and all.
Hello and welcome to Pirate Radio. This is Lutz coming to you live, and we have a regular weekday, guys. Nothing special going on except for the price. If everybody's been accumulating for the last month, you did a good job because it looks like you're up double. So nice job, guys. Very exciting, and the last month, when the price goes low, people feel like. I don't know. You see people slowing down in the chats, and I guess it's like a moral thing. People get a little sad, maybe, but these are markets. That's the nature of markets. Markets go up and markets go down. So overall, most of you are in a good position. Uh, Even still now, you're still in a good position, and that's just my opinion. Of course, I'm not a trader. Uh, I'm an investor. That's little different. Uh, today we have a fireside chat, a nice update. I wanted to catch up really personally with FishyGuts. Me and FishyGuts, we have a lot in common as far as opinions with things that are going on in the community and such. And I think we've always been very like-minded. I think that's why we got along in the beginning, right, Fishy?
Uh, you know, I definitely know that we are two people from different sides of the tracks from how we live our lives and what we do in our day to day. But whenever we come together on this pirate stuff, it's like just aligned like no other, you know?
Yeah, yeah, because we all want the same thing. We all want good things for Pirate. Um, so everybody, if you don't know who Fishy Guts is, Fishy Guts is the original captain, along with some other original captains that did it that were here in the past. I think there was Blackbeard, and there were a couple other ones. I can't remember their names at the time. Um, I noticed the numbers of captains are dwindling. Fishy, what do you think? It's time to come make a comeback, or what?
You know, so like one of my first things was always that pirate was a no heroes asset, and it definitely had to have no one person in control. And it was so exciting for me to, well, as sad as it was for me to step away when I did a year and a half ago, just have everyone else just pick up the sails and take care of the mast and grab the wheel and sail in the right direction was just beautiful to see. Might not have been around in voice or word, but I was watching very often, and it was amazing to see. So you know, it's always going to shift, it's always going to change, and that's okay. You know,
Fishy guts is what you work more like I do. Somebody comes to you with a good idea, you have a very open mind about it. Uh, Back in the day, I came to Fishy Guts with a few ideas, as always, right? And I might be a little nutty, So I would say 1 out of 30 ideas usually work out. Um, and I came up to him. I was like, "Yo, let's do some bounties. Let's do some radio. Let's do some this and that." And he's like, "Yeah, let's rock and roll. Go for it." And I did, right? I do that. I do that for most projects I'm involved in. I just do it naturally. I'm happy to have fallen into pirate because of the just the dynamics of the coin. It's very solid. Everything about the coin is solid. There's nothing iffy about the coin. There's nothing you can say like, oh, there was an ICO, there was a pre-mine, all this FUD out there, right? It really comes to the point where it hurts people because if you don't know the truth, the FUD is going to get you. How could we combat this FUD? Fishy, tell me, how could we combat this FUD?
honestly, whenever I see thought about pirate, I I know that I shouldn't, but I literally take it personally. Like, and I use the word literally a lot, but I literally mean that I literally take it personally. Whenever I hear people fighting
Yeah,
pirate
yeah.
today,
Oh, hold on a second, bro. Your mic is really choppy and it sounds horrible.
how about this? Any better?
Yeah, it's a little better.
I take the fight on pirate very personally. Anytime I hear it, it just drives me nuts.
Yeah, what? So what kind of FUD are we hearing in the environment these days? I know Monero was hitting us hardcore a while ago. Are they still hitting us hard, or do we have some new opposition coming out of the groundwork? So,
It's, you know, the same stuff, different day. Honestly, I remember answering all the same questions that I'm still answering today 3 years ago. So I don't understand, you know, for a market like crypto that's so creative and has such wonderful minds, how the opposition can't come up with anything original or new to say about it.
well, so the most recent piece of FUD I've heard is oh, what are you gonna do when Pirate dies? Because no one's gonna mine the coin anymore. How do you combat that one? Give us the defenses we need, Fishy. Give us the vaccine we need to combat this FUD.
Well, I mean, I guess you have to define when pirate dies. What does that even mean? You know, because
Yeah,
I don't see it happening. Period. So, like, that's almost a piece of fun where it's like, how do you even combat that, right?
yeah. So the whole idea behind it is they feel that since there's no incentive to mine the coin anymore, everyone's going to stop mining it because there won't be much coming out of the blocks in a few years. So they think that it's going to die.
I honestly can't even begin to say how that would matter. I mean, if you look at something like Bitcoin, those are going to die eventually. You know, when you look at the Monero blocks, Yeah, they're going to get 99% of the original amount they wanted to have released mined out, and they're going to a what are they calling it? They're calling it a what's the phrase they're using for this
Tail emission.
yes, the tail emission, the money.
Yeah, that's Monero has that. They have a tail emission.
It's a crypto printer go burr. Look, you're just
Yeah, of course.
at today's prices, you're adding approximately 50 million a year new to the system, which doesn't necessarily sound like a lot. And there are arguments for it, and there are arguments against it. Just like in crypto, everything has got trade-offs, right? One
Yeah.
of the things that Pirate has in terms of chain stability is they use DPoW, delayed proof of work, through the Komodo system, which most any coin out there can do at this point, I believe. And what this does is even if there's one miner on the chain, the delayed proof of work is going to provide the security of whatever coin that they're attaching that to. So at one point it was Bitcoin. I'll see if I can fix my mic here in a minute. Here.
Yeah, man, you sound horrible, bro. I'm gonna get you a microphone for Christmas.
I have one. Let me see if I can set it up. Why don't you take the rein for a second?
Wolf is here. Wolf, how you been, man? Everybody know Wolf from Polarity?
Very excellent. It's a pleasure to be here. I just really wanted to.
Little
I heard
buddy,
you
I missed you.
mentioning. I miss all you guys, and I'm working
You
hard
disappeared.
working hard behind the scenes to help build the infrastructure that'll be, what helps get Pirate across the world. So real quick, I just wanted to jump in on the topic of what happens when all the coins are mined. I mean,
Hell
it's
yeah,
really
bro.
simple. People, did you even read the Bitcoin white paper? How do you make a transaction? You pay the network, right? You pay it a
Mhm.
fee, and that's never going to go away.
Right.
So the free incentives of securing the network in the early phase of growth, yeah, they may eventually stop, and they do with the case of Pirate. But by that point in time, the fees paid by the users who are using this gigantic financial network makes up for the cost difference. Like it literally,
Does
like
it though? Does
it's an
it truly
economy.
make up? Like, if you're a
It's an
normal
economy.
miner, would you make as much as you're making, say, today?
Well, what that requires, can you guys hear me better, by the way, now? I switched my mic.
Ah, beautiful. Thank the Lord, bro.
All right, cool. What you're asking us to do is to literally whip out our crystal ball and tell the future, right? So if
Yeah.
Bitcoin goes down to 20 grand and there's, minute minor fees on there, no, it's not going to pay for it, But how do we know if Bitcoin's not going to go to 20 grand or 20 million? We don't. We can't predict the future. If we could, I wouldn't sell any of my coins until I knew exactly what they were going to be at, So it's kind of a
Hey,
silly argument.
why are you selling coins anyway, bro? The fuck?
Bro, I got family, kids to feed, and projects to fund, and
You guys got to understand profitability too, right? So that's different for every miner that's involved. So there's going to be miners that are going to drop off, network difficulty is going to adjust, and it'll level out.
Right.
yeah. So that's one of
Yeah,
those. Sorry.
that's one topic of FUD. That's just one topic of FUD, the tail emissions. Me personally, if it has a tail emission, that's inflation. I don't care how you frame it as inflation. End of story.
Yeah, I mean it's just something that's impossible to argue without sounding like you're a fortune teller. You're arguing against someone who is asking you to predict the future, and it's literally not possible. So
I
it's
had one
kind of
per I had somebody tell me that it was. Well, he goes, "What do you do about all the coins that get lost over time? Like, how do you compensate for those coins?" And it made sense at the time, but then I consulted the JL7 Oracle, right? And and he said he goes, why would the whole network have to pay for somebody's mistake? Why should they have to pay for somebody's mistake? Instead, that person learns his lesson how to send coins, right? And doesn't make that mistake again of putting the wrong address. And then, he learns his lesson, and everybody, the coins get lost, and everybody's coins are worth a little more instead. That would be the better way to go, and I would agree with that 100%. There's no reason to start compensating people for. I mean, it don't even make sense with a tail emission to compensate for lost coins. That it don't even make sense.
What kind of argument is that? Like, oh, I'm sorry you weren't taking care of your own sovereignty. That now that the rest of the chain users have to make up for your mistakes. I don't even agree with that for 1 second, and that's a hilarious response.
You're you're the only person that suggests they should go back to using a bank. That's what I would say to him. You, they made banks for people
But
like you.
yeah, I just wanted to jump in and agree with you, Lutz. The using the term like however you want to paint it, it is inflation, right? Because there is no staking mechanism, so people are constantly being diluted. So yeah, it functionally is inflation, and there's no way you can really
Oh,
slice it otherwise.
you're the perfect person to have here to explain war to us, aren't you?
Sure.
Because I've been on the fence about that. I know Fishy Guts has the same hair in his stomach that I do. There's always that little bit of scare when introducing some new stuff, because there's always that possibility or many possibilities something could go wrong, right? So that's
Of
why I
course.
think we scare about, we're scared of it, right? A little bit.
Sure.
Before Grey Wolf starts, I just want to add like the thought in everyone's mind. How many DeFi protocols do you guys know off the top of your head that have been hacked this year alone? I mean, I can think of two right off the top of my head, and I'm not even trying. So that's where my concern lies. Is it's not about the R chain or the R protocol. It's about another protocol. Flash loan exploits. What you
Right.
saw
That mixes
with
in.
what you
Right.
saw with just the other day with the Poly network, where someone's using the Polygon network, and it was an RPC call between two different connections that was being abused, and that's not even anything that the original code could account for, even if it wanted to. So that's kind of where my main argument against wrapped R lies. Other than you're giving up privacy to participate in something like that, but that's sort of a secondary thing. That's on the user itself. So my main thing is the exploits that are existing in other code that we don't have any control over, and that would just pain me to see people losing pirate because of that. So it's on you, Gray.
So yeah, my number one thing for people is that the actual wrapped R itself is totally safe. It is an ERC20 standard, will be based on Open Zeppelin code that is the functional standard for all ERC20 tokens. Now, your concern of flash loans refers to tokens that are integrated inside of other protocols that involve complex math like lending or borrowing or leverage trading. And so what I can warn you is if you do not want to be subject to those exploits, you absolutely should not put those R into those protocols. You can very safely use it on Uniswap or whatever the swap engine is that's been chosen. Those are audited. Those have been running for literal ages, and those are totally safe. So yeah, the real concern boils down to not getting involved in protocols that are going to consolidate R and that are open-facing Solidity contracts, which can be exploited.
Well, I know nothing about that stuff. That's why it scares me. But you sound like you know the deal, and I'm gonna have to trust you, man.
Sure. If you're looking for a case study of some of the competency behind, RA's Trading, who has been developing a lot of these technologies, you can look at NLife, nlife.casino or nightlifecrypto.com. Yeah, you can very clearly see an example of the technology solution that would be applied over there.
Oh, nice. Yeah. You guys helped out with that as well, right? And everybody, if you guys don't know who Wolf is, Wolf has been with us in Pirate since the beginning. Well, not the beginning, but 2 years now. He came to the original first event we went to. Came when we sponsored all of the Cayman Islands for Pirate Festival. So he's not new here, guys. Just there's a lot of community people haven't met yet, or maybe you're just new to the environment and you haven't met somebody that hasn't spoken for a year. But Wolf is he's like a little genius to me. When I met him the first time, we met in Waves platform, and we, we used to get together. There's a lot of great people in crypto, and Wolf is one of them. Wolf is one of the guys. He's a go-getter. He has an idea and he goes and he gets it done. He wants a bot that can outperform other bots. He goes gets it done. You know, so there's a lot of great people. Wolf, how does the casino work? If people wanted to use it, you probably know best how that works.
Yeah, sure, I can explain it. Basically, how it functions is, the underpinning is Turtle Network, where Pirate Chain's been a part of for coming on 2 years now. So basically, what happens is all of the games that are part of N Life, and specifically the roulette for Pirate Life, that's actually a smart contract. And that smart contract is owned by a business, and that business, I think, is Tortuga Labs. And basically, what this business is they want it to be a casino. Now, of course, how do you trust a casino, right? You have all these online gaming sites, and you're like, how do I know these odds are fair? And so, what Tortuga Labs said was, we can show you that a casino can be fair to the point where the entire game is written into a smart contract. The casino company has put their own money into the prize pool, and so that every time a user plays, they're guaranteed that the result is the same executed code. The odds are fair. It's instantly auditable, and it's all on chain. And
Right, and
so,
on chain is what makes it respected. And from what I understand, there's three ways of putting things on chain, if I remember right. You have your smart contracts, you have your oracles, and you have your is that P2SH? I'm thinking. I know there's three ways of putting things on chain, making things work
smart
technically
contract,
on chain.
oracles, and you can just actually publish data to the Turtle Network chain.
Gotcha. So do we need TRT in order to use it?
No, see here, this is where the brilliant part comes in for everyone. For Pirate Life Casino, the native fuel is actually Pirate Chain itself. So when you deposit Pirate, you invoke the smart contract, and you're paying the blockchain network Pirate Chain to actually process the transaction.
All right. So it works directly with Pirate.
That's right. It's a native use case for Pirate.
That's pretty good. I haven't tried it, and I'm not gonna because I have an addictive personality. Anything I do, I fall down a rabbit hole. So I try to stay away from that stuff. But
Of course. Got to be mindful of the disclaimers, and everyone knows themselves best.
So ultimately, the wrapped R isn't going to, at least on the iteration that the team plans on doing, sounds like it's not going to have the ability for flash loans. That's not something native into the Polarity exchange, correct, Gray?
No. Basically, people are able to freely take. Okay, so blockchains are decentralized. Once a person wraps their Pirate Chain to wherever their destination is, they can do with it whatever they want. So if they get involved in some DeFi protocol, I mean, they take on that liability when they execute and self-engage with that smart contract. So what my best advice is to not.
Sure, and that's kind of where my problem lies for sure.
Yeah. So like the basics of like how can you earn yield with R? Well, that's strictly going to be from Uniswap or whatever the liquidity pool software that was chosen is. And so that's just directly from trade fees.
Now, is that chosen by us, or is that chosen on their own, through these individual community projects?
Team initially it's going to be the team's decision, and after that point users can basically just create liquidity pools anywhere they want.
Well, there's really no team. We're all community members technically, so we would have to vote on
Right.
it, I guess.
Yeah, it would be a community decision.
Okay, sounds good.
Are you
Just,
are you
I
still
just
a
wanted to
skeptic,
say,
Fishy?
we'll see. We'll play it by ear as it goes.
I feel the same.
I just real quick about my mic. Thanks for letting me know, and everyone, if you could say thanks or drop a thanks in the weekly meeting chat to my mom who got me this microphone. So we all owe her a debt of gratitude. If you're happy to hear.
Oh, hell yeah. Thank you, Ma. My son will soon be fitting into those Biggie small socks.
I love it. I was thinking about that just the other day. Okay, so let's go over some more FUD points because this whole, vaccination
Right.
of the FUD thing needs to happen because it's really getting
Yes.
tiresome.
Yes. So what other FUD are we hearing out there?
One of the things I do hear a lot is the whole, 90% mined out and all the OGs mined beforehand. And honestly, it's pretty provable to show that we've had hundreds, if not thousands, of miners for a long time, even back
Oh, yeah.
before the first halving. Pirate ended up um, having a really early get go on what to mine, which is one of the most popular mining sites for mining profitability, which a lot of miners use. And since Pirate has launched on what to mine, I would be willing to bet that it's been the top profitable coin for 95% of its time that it's been on there. So that means that a lot of miners mine simply for revenue, daily revenue, weekly revenue, monthly revenue to pay the bills. And that's why we saw a lot of sell pressure at the beginning of the chain life where you had miners just mining and selling all the time. And there was a lot of complaints about it and issues about it that people had, but honestly, it made sense to me. I've been a miner since I started in crypto. It was the first thing I did. I never even bought coins
Me too,
before I
yeah.
started mining.
Me
So
too. I was poor.
yeah, and it fits in with the S2F model, the stock to flow model that Zardegrade is always championing. That now that there's not as much R coming out on a daily basis, the sell pressure is reduced greatly, and the more that the
Stock to
price.
flow is 100% real. I'm sorry, so sorry to interrupt, but it's very important to point out that a great misunderstanding with users in general with cryptocurrency is that they believe it's an investment, and it is not. Functionally, they're literally software licenses, right? They're software licenses to access a decentralized database. And in this case, Pirate Chain is a database of privacy. And so basically, the stock to flow directly relates because as people have a higher demand for privacy, more R will be required to meet that demand. So therefore, it is literally a simple, S2F supply and demand.
Absolutely.
Right.
One of the things that we're talking about when people were talking about, oh, there's early miners and those are the guys who mined out the 90%. It's just simply not as prevalent as others would like to make you think. So within 3 months, 4 months of Pirate launching, when we were still on the initial block reward, Pirate had surpassed Komodo's mining hash rate. It had surpassed zk-SNARKs mining hash rate. And at times, we've even passed Zcash's mining hash rate or gotten close to it. So for someone to sit there and say with a straight face that, Pirate miners and OGs are just dumping on you, first of all, is just preposterous. Second of all, I don't know if you guys paid attention this week with the whole guy on Reddit who basically has an account to simply talk trash on Pirate. He said that he was an OG miner and he mined out hundreds of thousands of coins. And I just called him out on it. I said, go for it, bro. Sell it all. Dump it all. I dare you. And he did. He put 400,000 Pirate coins on Trade Ogre. And you crazy bastards literally bought it all up in less than 4 hours. And I couldn't even get Bitcoin to the exchange fast enough to buy it. It was awesome to see. So you have someone who claimed to be an OG miner literally trying to dump this 2% of the supply, 3% of the existing supply, and he couldn't even move the price more than 10%. And within less than 3 days, it's already back to where it was and above that. So, pour one out in the chat for that guy who no longer
Yeah,
holds Pirate anymore.
yeah, it's better in my hands than yours, buddy. Have a nice day.
Any other thoughts or ideas on that whole, statement? Because
Yeah,
it's
I
just
don't. I believe distribution happens the same, whether it's fast or whether it's slow. You could do it. You could accumulate slow over a period of 6 years, or like Monero, right? Or it's going to happen fast, but it's going to happen no matter what. Distribution is going to happen fast or slow. It's going to happen, and it's a process that happens.
yeah.
A bunch of people sell, a bunch of people buy. It happens. It just happens faster. That's all. We're accelerationists, right? That's what they call us now. Uh, I can see where that comes from.
Look, to sit there and make that argument with the straight face is also funny. I mean, let's talk Bitcoin. How many people mined Bitcoin for 3-4 years before it came out on 50 Bitcoin a block or 25 Bitcoin a block, right? Like, that is just funny to me. The Monero guys talking about it is just as funny. Monero came out in 2014, and mining didn't start getting, notoriety from other users, not just, crypto cypherpunks. It was mined out for 2-3 years before anyone got into it, and it was already 60% distributed, right? And to sit there and say, oh, the OGs and the devs mined more Pirate than anyone, we can say that about any single coin out there.
And yeah, well, on top of it, I mean, we kind of deserve it. Are you guys still working?
You put tough time in, you put the energy in, you put your rigs on the system, you're supporting the network early. It's it's more of an investment at that point because it's a bigger risk. So the ARRR, the risk to reward ratio, is far greater than it is today mining Pirate, where it's a higher price. That the coin is more stable. It's a lot more easier for people who don't have that propensity for risk to mine today than it was back then. So I absolutely believe early miners should be rewarded for their efforts.
I got my government money, my stimulus, man. The first thing I did was buy a Z11, man. And that was it. So you take the risk of buying this expensive equipment that might not amount to anything, but that's the risk you take, and sometimes you end up doing good. I mean, I have an ASIC Sia coin miner that was dead in the water for a long time, and now it's profitable all of a sudden, $5 a day. So
I love it.
And I hate to jump in again, but that right there is the whole point of crypto, is that yes, there is opportunity in getting these software licenses before use case and utilization for them exceeds demand, basically.
right, what are you talking about with licenses though?
So what he's saying, the coins you're getting are sort of impromptu license that you're getting on the network.
Each coin is a license to use the network. Think about it. It's like CD keys, right? You want to use this network because it's going to provide you a result, a response, a function, or a thing. Well, you need to be authorized to do that. And the only way to do that is by having the coins. So they're really software licenses.
I never thought of it like that. See, you're a genius, bro. Where the fuck have you been?
Come on now. I'm just clever.
I love it. Hey, so I had a quick question before we move on to the next FUD point. If you guys not in chat, but you want to talk, type it in chat. I want to know, what was your highest mining electricity cost per month when you started mining? So for me, with all of my rigs that I was running at my house, my electric bill was over $1,000 a month.
$2,600 every month. $2,600 here.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm about $2,400 a month.
Yeah. And for someone to sit there and say, oh, you don't deserve to be rewarded for that investment. Wait a minute, I was putting 25 grand a year into this with no guarantee of any return. It could have gone to zero, and I would have wasted all my money, time, energy, equipment lifespan, all that sort of thing. So that's just another piece to laugh at people who want to say that.
And that happens over and over again with so many shit coins. So many. That's a normal process.
So, yeah, go ahead
So
and
how
type
about
those numbers in, guys, if you've got them. We'd love to see them. On
how
the
about how
next,
about this FUD with Duke? Who's this guy Duke? And saying that all this FUD about us.
we don't mention that name because there's no point in giving children a platform to throw fits,
Uh,
because that's all it is, and it's just, we don't even talk about it.
yeah, that's so
Uh,
sad. It's a sad case.
One of the pieces of FUD that has stuck around for a while is the trusted setup FUD. And, at first I kind of understood it. When you have a chain, and just real quick, taking a step back on the trusted setup, what it basically is Pirate works in sort of a black box. So when you spend a ZK coin, it goes into a box, a giant purse. Anytime someone uses a Pirate coin, it goes into this giant purse, and only you have the secret code with the combination of this trusted setup code to access and remove coins from this giant black box. So when it first came out, the Zcash code on the Sprout system, there were only 6 users who were very trusted cypherpunks. I know people may not know these names, but some of these guys have been working on cryptography and coding and different variations of digital cash since the 90s.
Yeah,
So,
Radix is one of the oldest guys.
yep, we have Peter, we have Zuku, we've got all these guys who had a good reputation in the community, and they decided they were going to try this system out. And at first I kind of understood that it's not illogical to think that 6 people could possibly somehow, if you didn't know their history and you didn't know where they came from, find a way to want to collude in order to take advantage of this mechanic. And I personally was kind of, not really upset about it, but it did bother me a little bit at night. And then as soon as JL said we're going to sapling, one of the things that he had thought was a great idea, and we asked the whole community, thousands of people at the time, what their thoughts were on killing Sprout altogether. And what that basically means is that any coins that were generated in Sprout with the ZC code, ZC wallet addresses, were going to be forced out of that box. And the reason for that is there was an exploit at the time that Zcash had. It was not public until after we made our fix, but we wanted to force all of the ZC coins out into transparent addresses so that we could do a full chain audit and account to verify and show everyone in the world that all of the coins were generated legitimately and that there was no exploit that had been taken advantage of. And it was a little tough for everyone to swallow, but it made sense. And so we made all the Sprout coins come out into transparent addresses to be accounted, and then they could only go back into a sapling address, a ZS address. So what that did was that not only took out the 6-person trusted setup FUD, but it also killed the possibility of the exploit being used at any point in time in the past or the future. So that's the reason that ZC coins were locked after a 6-month period. That's the reason that we forced the closure of that pool, because we didn't want a retroactive abuse of that exploit that did exist in the wild. And so now we're on the sapling system. And the sapling system, I believe it was 83 people had participated in the key generation ceremony for the sapling black box. And what that means is now, instead of 6 people that had to collude in order to exploit this, you had to have 83 random people from all over the world at all different levels of knowledge and capability participating in this key generation ceremony. And all you had to happen was one of them, just one of them, to be an honest actor, and there's no way that it can be abused. So to say that the trusted setup FUD is still existing in Pirate is just ludicrous to me. I mean, the chance that it could have been exploited went from 480 different ways in Sprout to like 2,500,000,000 different ways that it could have been protected against in sapling, because of all the possible combinations of all those users. So the trusted setup FUD, I hear it, I get it. It doesn't apply to Pirate. It honestly still applies to Zcash. Any Zcash coins that are sitting in ZC addresses could have possibly been manipulated and that exploit taken advantage of. And
Oh
I'm not
wow.
going to sit here and tell you that that has happened because I have no way to prove it. Because if they leave them in the Z addresses, we're never going to know. But it is something to consider when you think about the trusted setup FUD when you're talking about Zcash being completely different when you talk about it with Pirate.
Well, the JL77 told me a while ago about a vulnerability between the transparent addresses, the Z addresses, and the transparent addresses. So if they actually exist on the chain, a Z chain, there's this linkability problem that's can't be solved. I don't know if that's still true, but that was a while ago.
Yeah, well, we don't even have that because of the forced Z actions that we've taken. And by that, I mean closing the Sprout code, not allowing any of the Sprout codes to be spent after 6 months, and also additionally verifying that every coin that came out of Sprout never exceeded the amount of coins available on Sapling. So, it just doesn't exist in Pirate because of the way that we decided to make these changes. So when people say, oh, Pirate hasn't done anything unique or different, that's just bullshit. They just don't want to take the time to learn about the facts.
There's some other projects out there like Alio that use zk-SNARKs. I've been playing around with that. It's got like a Snark OS on it. There's a lot of good coins coming out. I don't know if they. I think they actually will have a coin. If you guys want to check it out, ALEO, it's pretty cool. Yeah. So there's an article I posted, guys. Check it out. It was written by the owner of ALEO, and it's called "The Power of Tau: How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Setup." So look at that article. It's pretty. You're going to learn a lot, and it's a great way to understand how that ceremony works. And I thank him big time. I'm still begging him to come on the weekly, so I hope he jumps on and introduces us to Alio. It's a building library for developers. So they're creating like libraries so that developers can create applications using the zk-SNARKs protocol. So I think that'll come in handy later on. With Pirate like in combination. That's why I'm keeping a close eye on that. So what other FUD we got?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I typed in chat. If you guys have any other FUD points that you've been asked about or you want us to address, glad to do it here. Look, as I've always said since day one, Pirate is all about openness, honesty, and transparency. Unless you're asking about what my balance is.
Yeah,
I'm not
I've gotten
asking
this
about
FUD.
what your balance is, but I do have a question and an open poll to the community. One of the things that I can provide is that there's been some work on implementation of a prototype of zk-SNARKs on Turtle Network. So if there are any cryptographers in the community or people who work with zk-SNARKs who might be interested in building a pirate-powered application that has its own zk box within it, definitely reach out. There's a lot of opportunity for zk-SNARKs to become a really adopted protocol within the crypto ecosystem.
I would love to see a dedicated messenger platform based on Pirate Chain. And by that, I mean just a back and forth messenger like a Telegram or a one-to-one messenger,
bro.
like Signal.
I've been begging for this.
It could be done.
Yeah, and I would just honestly, with the environment that everyone's living in, with what everyone's dealing with the compromised nature of Signal and WhatsApp and Telegram, I think it would be a really amazing tool for people to have, and it's not something that's going to go from 1 to 100,000 users overnight, but it's one of those things that can spread with people who are truly concerned about their privacy. And just the thinking about it now, if you think about the transaction fee on Pirate is 1/10,000th of a Pirate. So
0.004.
yes, so one single Pirate coin can get you 10,000 messages, on a private messaging network like that. And that cost is so low compared to what it provides people with.
And let me
Privacy,
add to that. That is use case. That's like the literal epitome of what I've explained with the software licenses. Just like you said, how many messages does that authorize you? 1R? How many?
Yep. One license. So 10,000 licenses to do something. I understand it now.
Yeah, you can send
It's a good
200,
deal. It's a good deal if you want
messages.
to have encrypted messaging in the future. Might be a good idea to have R now.
I mean, you
Right.
basically will get one message or 25 messages for 1 penny. 25 back and forth for 1 single penny at today's price.
So we have two projects on the table like this. First, last week I introduced Zundernet. Zundernet's in the alpha stage at the moment. I urge people to play with it. It's in testing phases, so it could break. Keep that in mind. That's what alpha means. All right. So what Builder did, the dev's name is Builder. He made it so that you could label the addresses on in the wallet. Like with Joe could be this address and Bob could be this address, right? And he put it in cells so that when you send the memo to each other, it'll hold on to that. It'll create cells between a chat cell between each address, so that it could keep up with with like a normal conversation, like on Telegram, right? That's a cool one. The memo field has always been there, though. So to do private messaging, people, you just need to learn how to use the wallet. But Rum Runner is another dream of mine that I've been hoping to get done, but I haven't found the developer that could get it done. I guess as fast as I want it to be done, but this dev's working on it. I need to get a back end dev because the front end dev guy, I think the back end just overwhelmed him. But he did a good job on the front end, right? So we have something called Rum Runner, guys, and the idea behind it is that we use the memo field, so that's already done. It just needs to be put in there, right? And use that as an on-chain messaging solution, and then we use the Dex P2P for an off-chain solution for anonymity send, which is a function index to the Dex P2P. It's an dash anon send, so it'll disappear after an hour, right? It doesn't get recorded anywhere on a chain. So that would be like super immediate, like you're having a conversation with your girl, right? And you're talking dirty. You might not want that ever on a blockchain. Right. And then if you do want something on a chain, you got the other messaging alternative if you're doing business where you gotta have a viewing key to prove, that you made a deal with such and such, right? But that's still private between you and him because you got the keys. Did I lose you guys?
No, gotcha, man. Someone mentioned session. Does anyone know what that's based off of, or what the encryption is based off of, or how that works? Because
I've looked at Session. I think it's interesting. I think it's running off Loki protocol. I actually, that's brilliant, and I had never connected the dots. But it's open source, so you could fork Session for Pirate Chain, like almost certainly.
And I would love for Rum Runner to just be like a messenger, like Signal application, like and apps on people's phones. That's it. It wouldn't even have to be labeled with pirate, guys. Rum Runner, and all people would have to know is that they need to fill up on Rum Runner points, messaging points. You don't even have to call it pirate, right? And every time people want to fill up on messaging points, they just have to send over some pirate, and they got more messaging points. I mean, I think the more we don't relate it to crypto, the more regular people will use it.
yeah, so that would be
Well,
like the only challenge was be onboarding new users for that, and you could just find a liquidity provider who, I don't even know how to link it with USD, but I think that you're absolutely right in terms of opening it to more users other than just crypto people. And what we experienced this last week in the Congress and Senate with the crypto bill, it's definitely coming to light in terms of crypto's applicability. I mean, if the US government is taking time to discuss it this deeply,
more and more people are taking notice that would never have taken notice before. So perhaps it's just a time thing, just a familiarity thing, and perhaps it's just something that we're gonna have to figure out. I know that these things take time, but look, when the U.S. created the Federal Reserve and the fiat system that we use today, it took 10 years for it to finally become something popular. And, we can't expect anything faster than that. I mean, they're the strongest arm in the world, and for them to still take 10 years to get their way, we got to be a little patient for all that, right? So just something to consider.
And they were shilling hardcore. Take our fiat.
They
Give
had
us your
bombs and guns and tanks and sanctions, and we don't have any of that. We've just got to let people make their own choice, and so it is a lot harder for sure.
Hey, another thought I hear is something about who controls the keys and who makes the decisions about changes on the chain. Right? Isn't that centralized? Isn't that a centralization point? So I get people like.
Are you talking about here on Pirate or in general?
Yeah, on Pirate. I get the question a lot.
Yeah, so one thing you got to look at is it's not a switch. It's not on and off. And let me just take a little step back and talk about the king. So Bitcoin, when Bitcoin first started, it was very centralized. Satoshi was the only one in charge of the code. Satoshi was the only one mining. The very small handful of people who were mining at the beginning, how many of them were very much in charge of everything and in control of everything. And over time, what you eventually run into is a decentralizing effect. It's not something that you can, again, flip on and off. And in Pirate, we do have code that people will run. And if someday someone decides to fork Pirate for whatever reason, I'm not really sure if I even see a legitimate reason to fork Pirate. But if someone wanted to fork Pirate in the future, then they could do that. And it's up to the consensus. It's up to the code. It's up to the miners to make that decision on what code they want to run. And one thing we'll always do, going back to my previous example of switching from removal of sprout coins to sapling, is that it was a months-long process, even after we knew we had to do it, to get the community understanding and on board of why. And then as we got people on board with it, we still had 6 months after it was initiated for people to make the change and make the switch over. And at that time, anyone could have forked the original code of Pirate and kept the sprout coins in there and active. They could have one-for-one swapped the coins, and it could have happened that way. But what you ended up running into was the decentralization process taking its toll and eventually getting everyone to switch over to this new system that they had faith in and they believed in, right? So same thing with like BSV versus Bitcoin, and as time keeps going on, it's the great equalizer. As time keeps going on, you see BSV getting attacked, in verbiage, in words, in forums, and then you see it getting attacked by miners, and now you see it attacked by people who are trying to exploit the code and make money off of it. So ultimately, a weak code and a weak consensus is going to have its flaws shown, very rapidly and to egregious fashion. What's the confirmation time on BSV now for exchanges? Isn't it like a couple hundred blocks?
Oh man, it's a lot.
So it's just
long
something
enough for them to trust it.
And I mean, basically for me, that answer is never, Gray. So I will never use the BSV code. I don't agree with their ideologies. I don't agree with what they're doing, and that's my choice. And those that do can continue to use those, and that's their choice. And again, time being the great equalizer, it will always flush out any challenges and issues with what people decide to do.
How about we take
some? Why I like open source software so much. It's not so much about just rushing to a destination. It's about long-term shared vision, and through that process of achieving it, the good actors prevail ultimately.
So speaking of long-term vision, we have in 28 days from today, 4 weeks from today, we have the 3rd anniversary of Pirate Chain coming up. Did y'all know that? Wow. Sorry, I said 28. I meant 18 days. We have 18 days until the 3rd anniversary of the Genesis block for Pirate. So that's pretty cool.
That's fast. It feels like yesterday we
Time
said 2
flies.
years. It's amazing.
What were you guys doing
how about we take
2 years ago?
2 years ago, I was meeting up with you.
3 years ago, before this.
Oh,
No one in here knew even Pirate existed until the day before, the blockchain started. And it's amazing to me. It's really cool to
I,
see.
I was Komodo marketing manager, I think. That might have been 4 years ago. Huh. How about we take some questions from the crowd? See what FUD you guys have. I know Benny has some issues that he wants to bring up. Maybe Tone Vase whispered in his ear. Talk to us, Benny. If anybody has a question out there about people telling you bad things about Pirate, that it's bullshit because of such and such reason, you need to talk now or forever hold your pieces.
Before someone else starts, I just want to touch back on another point someone mentioned about tail emissions and crypto money printers going burr and the current system that everyone's used to, which is the fiat dollar system. And the simplest answer someone gave here in the Discord chat was, when you go to the bank and tell them I lost $100 bill out of my wallet on the street, they're not going to give it back to you. They're not going to give the opportunity to get that dollar back. That dollar is gone because you know why? The self-sovereignty is also a very critical part of a financial system, I think, So yeah, you're not going to get your $100 bill back if you lose it on the street. And that was a really poignant and concise answer. JL77 is a scammer. Okay, so as far as previously, I don't know how often you guys have interacted with him. And one of the things I love about him is that he's the type of person who will interact with you no matter who you are or how new you are. I first started in the Komodo ecosystem in like March of 2018. And he was answering my questions as a newbie who never even knew what he was doing with crypto. And here I have this developer who's created this awesome system just answering me directly to all of the questions I had without hesitation, without qualms, without any back talk or flim-flamming. He was just straightforward from day one. And he really has shaped a lot of my ideas on how the crypto ecosystem and ethos should be. And he never said this how it has to be. It was always up to you. And I'll never forget the ideas he put in my head and the opportunity he gave me to help be one of the first captains of Pirate. It's something I will literally remember forever.
Can I address the next question?
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry. I just really am passionate about explaining the differences between blockchain economic models and attack vectors and stuff. So loads of noobs I introduced the Pirate chain to think that it being POW instead of POS is a downside. Maybe a quick summary of like why POW is better for Pirate. Well, with regards to blockchains, each POW and POS system is designed specifically with different game theory models in mind. And functionally, what it boils down to is that proof of work is like the most fair. And, while Turtle Network is a POS system, and there are many POS systems, functionally, the most equal opportunity exists in being able to run a piece of software to generate coins and earn your stake in the network over time. And so through that mechanism, you have this ensured security of people that are constantly competing, and basically that'll continuously cause the value to grow inherently from the continued difficulty, more participants trying to get it, and the distribution that occurs there through it.
So one of the things that I like to talk about, proof of work, that a lot of people don't think about is proof of work is based off of greed. And greed, when you hear that word, oftentimes sounds like a bad thing. But what greed ends up doing is it makes people make the decisions that are best for them and themselves. So when you have a proof of work system and you have the ability for many other users to participate in this proof of work system, you have greed driving a lot of their ideas and a lot of their actions. If you have a distributed network worldwide of machines that can run these rigs and run these machines, you're going to have users make the best decisions to make the most money, whether that's using renewable energy resources that are cheaper to use, or whether it's they want to save the environment and so they use them. You're always going to have a constant battle of greedy people fighting each other to try and create a better system for what they think will work. And what ends up happening, let's say you have a guy who's got 100 rigs and he can run it at very, very, very low power costs. He's going to make other people try and find ways to run their rigs at very, very, very low power costs. When you have a proof of stake system and you've got someone who has so much control, because proof of stake is based on your weight, it's not based on the fact that you decide to run a node with 1 R in it, right? And even if you run a system that does work off that, then you can just fire up thousands of nodes. And then what you end up having is you have people who have a larger portion of the funds being able to make decisions for the network. And that goes back to, me talking about sprout versus sapling code. It goes back to changes in the code and consensus. If people want to run a different system, they're going to have enough stake to make those changes. And with proof of work mining, it's very, 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 very difficult to make those changes on your own. If you have a proof of stake system, all it takes is money. All it takes is, ownership of coins to make those changes.
It also adds easy entry for poor people, right? So, and I hate to say rich and poor people, but I've been at the low end of the spectrum and in the high end of the spectrum and then the low end of and up and down in my life, right? So even when I lose it all, I know, eventually, I'll make it again. So, I'm sorry. Where was I going with that?
Well, we were talking about proof of work and proof of stake and how the greed game is always going to be present.
Like I was able to get in with no money, right? Because I was able to little by little build up the amount of machines I had, right? Buying one GPU after the next when I could afford it. Mining Litecoin, right? I wouldn't have been able to do that. I wouldn't have been able to get into a coin and just buy it all, right? That would have been really expensive for me to get in at that time. So it allows for, and also at the same time, you're kind of screwing the fiat system, which I love, with proof of work, because you gotta mine using electricity. That electric bill is expensive, so technically you're paying for your coins. You heard we had like $2,600 electric bills. You're technically paying for the coins and taking that risk, which you're not doing. People who proof of stake coins, when you have one person holding all the coins and then selling them to, distributing them himself, or whatever method they come up with. It's not really a great idea to have something like that. Have one person hold all the coins on top of it. And then only rich people could buy it. I mean, you have to buy the coin in order to be in the coin. There's just you're discounting a whole culture behind the mining. Like there's a whole culture you've discounted completely. You have to make it easy for people to get in. That's like the whole idea behind it. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, so when we talk about that greed game that's inherently worked into blockchain consensus, and Satoshi even knew this somehow, like back when no one cared about crypto, a proof of stake system is ultimately going to benefit those who have more coins, who have more weight, and they are able to make these decisions on their own. I certainly don't have to tell anyone in here about, elite class, 1%ers, those people who get to make all of these decisions for everyone else in the world just because they have more wherewithal and pull lobbyists, influence, that sort of thing. And all of this, to me, all proof of stake is just another iteration of that system, which is just horrendous in my opinion. And again, that's my opinion, but honestly, the longer I keep going in this world, the more I see that greed, corrupts. And it's just proof of stake is a far inferior solution to proof of work, which is why I think, Mike Tatangi in Varus has done a split consensus system, proof of work and proof of stake, because he can see the value in both. And he wants to add to that greed game for stakers. And he wants to keep that greed game in there for the proof of workers to keep the proof of stakers honest. So, I think it's important to realize the importance of proof of work, like Gray had mentioned.
Oh, how is that liquidity stake working? Maybe Wolf could help that. I mean, if me and my wife stake our, like, 42,000 coins that we got, like, what kind of return can we expect? And is it dangerous to be
So
staking our coins?
let me be very clear. This is a super complicated subject. I encourage everyone to read about what liquidity pools are. And when I'm done discussing this, I'll actually post links to Liquidity Pool Explain Like I'm Five article.
Awesome.
And additionally, an article about impermanent loss. So here's the real thing with providing liquidity, right? Liquidity pools gained a ton of hype. They're really trendy. They are a great tool, but they do have downsides. They're a form of an exchange, right? So if you're using, for example, Trade Ogre or Polarity, right? These have order books. You place an order at the price you want, and that's what you're going to get no matter what, right? But there's no yield to this. There's no benefit for placing your buy order. So what clever developers created is this concept of a liquidity pool. And Uniswap functions as a seesaw. You guys know what a seesaw is, right? It's a 50-50 balance. And so functionally, what a liquidity pool is it's two assets paired together. So if you wanted to provide liquidity, you would have to actually sell some of your pirate first, or bring additional currency of the liquidity pool, and you match them in a 50-50 ratio. Once you've done this, you're a liquidity provider, and basically you get like 0.3% of the fees of all the trades that execute between that liquidity pool from user to user, basically.
So what Gray is talking about that with the fees is he's talking about a DEX type system, a DEX type setup, and centralized exchanges charge their trading fees in lieu of this. So they provide the Bitcoin on one side of the trade, and they provide the other coin on the other side of the trade. And the fact that they're doing that for you is why they charge these exchange fees. There's other reasons why they charge them, but that's why DEX fees can be so much lower, because you don't have back end, you don't have employees, you don't have payroll, you don't have all this other stuff that's involved. So, the DEX liquidity fee and the DEX liquidity earning is why people I can see are interested in wrapped R, and it makes sense to me from that aspect. That's why I'm never going to shun it completely. It's just something I don't want to risk my privacy or my coins in participating in. I've been a Uniswap liquidity provider on ETH Unipools, ETH Teller pools, and other pools where I've had to deposit, like he said, an equal amount of Ethereum and an equal amount of the other coin. And I've had contracts get locked. I've had my coins get locked with no earnings for months. I've had issues with it before. So that's why I am a little hesitant on it. But there are newer systems like Polarity and others, that like Atomic Decks, that are being created that help alleviate a lot of these issues that we've all, or some people have experienced in the past. So it's definitely an interesting concept, and I understand it completely. And if anyone does have more questions about it, we can talk about it in community chat or Pirate Chain chat for sure. Do we have any questions on YouTube or Telegram or any other platforms, you guys, that are coming up? And I know Benny's here to talk too, so.
Somebody asked about an update for CoinEx. Any updates to CoinEx? Anybody know anything about what's going on with that?
I think they're still sinking, unfortunately.
Stop using centralized exchanges, people. We got options now. Atomic Dex is awesome. BT Dex is pretty awesome if you can figure it out.
Does anybody have an update on the donations for the build out for War? I'm excited to see War come alive. So I don't know about you guys. I think it's going to really make some really cool things happen.
Well, I think that's why it was good that Wolf explained a lot of this because I mean, the same scare that me and Fishy have, I'm sure everybody has. Um, I mean, look how fast we feel. We fundraised for Changelly, and now this is taking a long time. I think people are very iffy about it.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So there's a question in community chat about uh, the fact that Pirate is a pump and dump for Komodo, and if Komodo had been planning to launch Pirate for 6 months before, and they had miners grinding on it for 6 months before it was ever released to the public, that might be a valid topic to discuss. But the chain launched, and the next day, because it was like an accident, it was almost like, oh wow, this works. The next day, we were on Bitcoin Talk. We posted on Bitcoin Talk. We posted on other forums. I started a Twitter account. We started, shilling that aspect of it. So the fact that it's a pump and dump for Komodo, I mean, Bitcoin was a pump and dump for Satoshi and Hal Finney. Ethereum was a pump and dump for Vitalik, right? Like, you can use all these arguments, but they're really kind of based on just nothing, just emotion and opinion.
Did Pirate beat Komodo's price a while ago? I just saying, we did. Our price did go higher than Komodo at some point.
Yeah, I mean, any coin that's Pirate is essentially, if you want to use an analogy that people understand, you can launch an ERC20 on Ethereum in a day, right? And Komodo is essentially a system akin to Ethereum where you can launch a coin on it anytime in a day. You don't have to use DPAL, you don't have to use their developers, you can launch it on your own. Does that make every ERC20 a pump and dump? Maybe the ones that had big pre-mines, maybe the ones that had fake devs. But, at this point in Pirate's lifespan, I'm pretty sure it's pretty impossible to argue that point with any validity anymore,
Word. All right. This meeting has gone on for longer than an hour, guys. I didn't want for it to go that long. But definitely some great FUD we're hearing. Any more people hear any FUD that we can address now? Anything your friends are telling you saying, oh, that's a bullshit coin for whatever reason, you need to bring it up now while the professionals are here at the table.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any that I can think of. I wrote a few down. We didn't talk about doing this meeting until late,
Right.
And I'm sure other ideas will come up, but we're always glad to talk about it in Pirate Chain chat. If you guys have valid questions, go ahead and tag me, tag Lutz, and we'll be glad to talk about it. I certainly still stand by from day one the fact that we have nothing to hide. We have everything to lose by trying to hide anything, and nothing to gain by hiding it at this point. I mean, 3 years in, it's just it's sad to even hear it, but that's why I take it personally, and that's why I'll always argue any FUD points, no matter how repeated they are, every time.
And remember, a lot of us are really old school here. I fell into Pirate, and I mean, I've been in a lot of coin projects. I think everybody in Komodo could attest to me being in a lot of goddamn projects. But this is the best one I've ever been in, ever. This is the best project, and hands down, easiest one to tell people about because there's nothing bad about it. I could talk about Pirate with full confidence because I know there's no pre-mine and I know there was no ICO, and there's always that one little issue with a coin that always bothers me, whichever one I've been in the past. And now with this coin, I have no problems. There's no issues on my mind with this coin. I could sell it with full confidence to anybody because I know it's got the fundamentals. It's got the geniuses behind it. I literally know them. I know most of them. I mean, there's so many great things to Pirate. It's almost impossible not to love it. I mean, how do you not love it?
Yeah,
You don't want to be a pirate? Sorry about that. Little rant.
You're fine, dude. No, I was just saying. I agree with you. It's all pros and no cons. There's literally nothing that you can complain about. It's just awesome. It's great tech.
Remember, and then remember the concept of redundancy, guys. If they do figure out Monero, and for some reason, they're pressing Fluffy for information or what, I've heard a lot of rumors. You've heard that could be some fun. Uh, there's maybe CipherTrace figured it out. We don't know, right? But it's important that we have an alternative to it, because if they did figure it out, we would have nothing. Because even WowNarrow is just a fork of Monero. So most of these coins, these good privacy coins, are forks of Monero. So any vulnerability in that Ring CT algo will be in those coins as well. So keep that in mind.
Are we getting close to done? Because I would like to do just a little fun thing at the end here for everyone to participate in.
Yeah, go for it, brother. I've been done. I was done 15 minutes ago.
Okay, so we talk about FUD. We talk about how easy it is to make a statement that is just not based in reality or truth at all, and it's very easy to do. I mean, what I want to see right now, just for shits and giggles in the weekly meeting chat, come up with some BS FUD that you can come up with that someone has to argue because it sounds like it might be valid, right? So I'll start just for fun. Again, you know me, I'm not a trash talker.
Can I start first?
Yes, go ahead.
Pirate chain is smelly because pirates don't shower because they live on pirate ships. Debate.
It's a stupid name. It's a stupid name.
I think rum kills, bacteria, and if we drink enough rum, we'll take care of that part of it. The salt water will help provide us with a nice fresh smell from the ocean. I think that there is definitely a way to keep clean water on board, and in fact, pirates used to pour rum in their water in order to kill any of the bacteria that was in their water. So this is something people have been dealing with for hundreds of years. Next FUD. Look, I think, when people talk about ownership and people in control of everything, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but pirates were literally the first people to free slaves. So what would happen when a pirate ship would encounter a trading ship from Europe or Spain, that when the pirates took over the ship and boarded and marauded and took all the coins or whatever from the government or, at the time, whenever the ships had slaves on them, the slaves had two options. And their two options were join us or go free. And that was it. And I think that's a highly commendable piece of pirate history that a lot of people don't know or don't think about.
Yep. Actually, House told me about that years ago. I didn't know about that either. And there's also that other FUD, people saying that our name stinks, that, people will never take us seriously because of our name, Fishy. This is, pirate chain is just too silly. Sounds like a meme coin.
Literally the first thing I asked JL, he said, hey, you want to help out with this project? We just launched it. We'd love to get your help. You've been a great community member in Komodo. And literally the first question I asked was, what about the name? Is it up for discussion? And he said, if you change the name, I will no longer contribute to the code. So for me, it was settled right there. But over time, I've come to understand that the ethos of pirates, the ideology of pirates, the fact that, they freed slaves, all these things combined, they lived the life they wanted. They did what they wanted. They went where they wanted without anyone else telling them what to do. I think it's just an amazing name, to be honest.
So there was some interesting FUD from Bosscoin yesterday. He put out a video and he talked about specifically privacy coins, and he very, very basically just touched on pirate and basically talked about how he just chose not to be associated with it anymore because of the dark web and all this bad stuff and blah blah blah. So that's some FUD that you can kind of cover.
Since day one, people have been asking, when are we going to get on darknet markets? How come you're not on darknet markets? What do we need to do to get on darknet markets? And every time, and my answer is still the same today, is I don't give a shit. I don't care about darknet markets. There are a million other positive uses for privacy than darknet markets. And just a quick example, about 6 months ago, I was seeing a girl. I just met her. And where I met her, it was at the gym. And at the gym, they have a pool. And for about 2 weeks, we would hang out every other day or every couple days. And we would be next to each other at the pool or at the sauna and chatting. And 2 weeks later on my Yahoo front page, I got my regular crafted news, because they give you all your local sports and whatever you're searching and whatever you're into. And one of the articles that popped up, and I've been single for a while at this point, one of the articles that popped up was, hey, so you're a 32D bra size, here's the perfect swimsuits for your summer. And I thought, how the fuck am I getting this news on my Yahoo news page, right? And I had the nerve to ask her the next time I saw her. I said, hey, I just want to show you this. And I showed her the page and I said, is that your bra size? And she was shocked, and she said yes. And her financial company had been selling her purchases, her purchase information, the stores she'd been shopping at, selling her information to the algorithm creators in order to push this news. They use that information to push this news to my page, and Yahoo knew the bra size of this girl I was going to date before I even got a chance to even get to that point with her. So that's just one simple example. If you look at, people getting their book deals canceled because of who they donated money to, or people want to boycott Toyota because they supported the wrong presidential candidate, or anything. There's a million positive reasons for privacy, and none of them have to be nefarious. So I still don't care if we ever get on darknet markets. I don't participate in them. I'm not interested in it. It has no basis in reality on that's the main reason for privacy coins, and I understand people like to use it because it's sensational, it's controversial, and it gets views, it gets likes, but at the end of the day, I don't care at all about darknet markets. Now, if someone here wants to do it, go ahead.
Counterintuitive thing for pirate. Literally, it is the most counterintuitive thing for pirate to be focusing on adding it to dark places for dark people. The number one market is retail. Look at Bitcoin's market cap. People want to have digital currency, and people also want privacy. So retail is the target. Retail is who needs this. The people should want to use Pirate Chain.
Yeah, I mean, the whole fact that privacy is nefarious is just funny to me. I don't know, has anyone seen the 5 main reasons for privacy video that was on the website? It might still be on the website. I'll link it here in a minute, but I had a professional video editor, Strobe. He's still in the Discord. He still hangs out sometimes. He used to make like Mountain Dew commercials and X Games commercials back in the day, and he put together the 5 main reasons why you need privacy. And it was great to at least get that out in the world to stop people from thinking about we need to be on darknet markets.
I hate the fact that people call them dark markets. I mean, they're just markets. There's really nothing dark about it. Who made it dark? I didn't make it dark. Somebody's spewing some FUD out there.
Absolutely. You could be not hired for a job because your financial statements show that you didn't get the COVID vaccine, and so we're not going to hire you, even though you told us you did. We don't see the transaction where you participated in this, worldwide test trial, right? So there's a lot of reasons that people need privacy, and none of them are nefarious.
Tone Vase at Porkfest made the debate the reason why to use Bitcoin, and not to use any other altcoin in general, is specifically the fact that it has the biggest network. That was his whole reasoning behind everything. It's because Bitcoin has the biggest network. I mean, the fact it's he makes it sound like something special, which really it's just something that happens by attrition naturally through the chain. That's just something that happens and will happen to any chain over time. So I mean, oh man, it drives me mad when I hear people just congratulations, you solved the decentralization problem, but we have another problem here.
Okay, let's get some more fake FUD. All right, so and again, you know me, or if you don't, I'll just preface it with I've never been a trash talker. I've always supported all other strong privacy coins. I've always talked down on ones who pretend like they are and they aren't, because when you're talking about privacy, it's important to be private and not pretend like you're private. So with that said, you know, Fluffy Pony was arrested by the government because they want to pinch him for information to break Monero. Go ahead and fight that FUD.
I can, man, because I did the same thing.
He was arrested for forgery on receipts and using licensure from other license companies on his company's paperwork, and the tune of quote forgery, commitments was about $100,000. It seems to have turned out, and it cost all these governments more than $100,000 to arrest him. So what's the point? What are they really trying to get him and hold him for?
Right, and would Fluffy really just not pay the $100,000 fine or whatever it was?
Right.
It don't even make sense.
Okay, here's some more fake FUD. They talk about pre-miners and pirate people are pre-miners. I don't have a $1 million Richard Mille watch. I don't have multiple exotic sports cars that are valued at more than $1 million. And I've been mining since day one. Like, I can't even understand how people look past that fact and say, Monero is more fairly mined than pirate when you've got the original code contributor flashing $1 million watch everywhere he goes,
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, you can do this all day, but we are running out of time. I don't want to keep people all day, and I'm sure there are people who'd want to listen, but let's get pirates back to their days. So, any other last thoughts, guys?
I got one thing to cover real quick. The remix competition is ending on the 31st, so anybody that has submissions for that, please submit your submissions for the Privacy Shanty remix competition.
Where do they do that?
It is in the announcement. There's basically a Google form they can fill out and upload their submission and put their information.
Cool.
Can you link that in the weekly meeting chat so people have a place to visit it?
Yep, I will do that.
Awesome. All right, guys. All right, so thank you for joining us today, Fishy. Always a pleasure. I love talking to you. At some point in time, I was angry at you. I'm not going to lie, but I love you again. And then we have Low Fat Milk and Cax and Gray. Oh, Wolf, Gray Wolf from Polarity, guys. Special thank you for showing up today. He is the mastermind behind Polarity, or one of them, one of the top ones. And he's
No,
he's a
I
young
used to
guy,
be in
man.
the Waves community, as everyone knows. And basically, I have a group of partners, and I contract for Aureus, and they had the idea that maybe they could run their own waves, and so I've done my best to help advise them, as the in the same way as I contributed to Waves platform.
Yep, and I was there for that. And I think Turtle Coin is like the community version of Waves.
Turtle
Which
Network.
Turtle
Coin
Network.
is
That's right.
yeah,
There's another
some other weird
shitcoin.
project.
Yeah, I think Pirate has one too. There's a old project out there called Pirate Coin. Don't get it confused. The one that's worth half a Satoshi is not the one.
Yep, I just linked that 5 reasons why you need financial privacy video in the weekly meeting chat, and it would make me happy if you guys watched it and checked it out, because at today's dollar value, that video probably cost me like 40 grand.
Oh shit.
So please watch it, and I hope you enjoy it.
Awesome, I will actually. And actually, if you guys want to read a book, if you guys are readers out there, Privacy is Power. Wait, no, the Power of Privacy, guys. No, is that it, Benny? What was the name of that book? Yeah, The Power of Privacy. Guys, read that book, and you'll learn a lot. And by the time that book's done, you'll understand fully why you need privacy. And it's on Audible too. If you don't like to read like me, you just listen to it. I like to do 2 things at once. I have ADD like that. All right, guys. This is Lutz. Thank you guys for showing up today. I love you. Fishy Guts and all the team members here and past team members, and that's why I like to bring some old guys in. I mean, it's fantastic bringing Fishy in, and there's old guy, a lot of old people that you don't know about that are just still hanging around, and they're still here to guide and to help, and because we're all just community members anyway. So, thanks guys, love you all. This is Lutz signing out.
Been an absolute pleasure getting to jump into the fireside chat, guys, and I'll do my best to try and hop into other ones in the future. Have a really wonderful rest of your day and happy sailing.
Yeah, I lied. I'm still here. Everybody on Float, thank you for attending. I love Float. Float is going to be the main place we go to, guys. I plan on building around Float, putting it on the OS and all kinds of good stuff. I love Float. So there's some big anarchists behind it, and that's what makes it special. They're not going to submit like all these other platforms. All right, Cax, do your thing.
There once was a ship that put to sea, and the name of that ship was privacy. The winds blew hard and fear dipped down, blow me, crypto boys blow. Soon may the pirate chain come to bring us crypto golden rum. One day when the system is done, we'll take our treasure and go. She'd not been but 2 years from shore when her value it began to soar. The captain called all hands and swore he'd take those bankers in tow. Soon may the pirate chain come to bring us crypto golden rum. One day when the system is done, we'll take our treasure and go. Before the boat had hit the water, bankers came but never caught her. All in sync we hid and fought them, then they began to know. Soon may the pirate chain come to bring us crypto golden rum. One day when the system is done, we'll take our treasure and go. No chain was cut, no block was freed, and the captain's mind was not on greed, but he belonged to the pirates' creed and took those bankers in tow. Soon may the pirate chain come to bring us crypto golden rum. One day when the system is done, we'll take our treasure and go. For fear days to be no more, the crypto sank, then rose once more. Coins were lost, yet we do endure, and still that system did go. Soon may the pirate chain come to bring us crypto golden rum. One day when the system is done, we'll take our treasure and go. As far as I've heard, the fight's still on, the chain's not cut, and the block's not gone. We pirates make our regular call, we're with the captain, the crew, and all. Chain come to bring us crypto golden rum. One day when the system is done, we'll take our treasure and go.